What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. In the times when Putin's actions increasingly resemble a carefully crafted playbook for societal self-destruction, a new draft bill targeting educational opportunities has emerged as one of the most recent disturbing signs. Just when you thought Putin is already doing an irreversible damage to his country, he always finds the ways to do more. Much more. The things we'll be talking about in today's video were far beyond even our expectations of what Putin is capable of. On its surface, the legislation appears to be about academic standards and exam requirements. Nothing suspicious, right? Kinda. Yet the closer you look, and you will see a deliberate, cold-hearted strategy designed to funnel the youth into a narrow, limited opportunities corridor, while prohibiting the access to a full-spectrum secondary education. Why do this? Well, he simply needs more future soldiers, who won't be smart enough to question things. This is not simply about raising exam stakes. It's about destroying the future, about steering bright minds away from college and high-order thinking, and ultimately about shaping a generation more susceptible to the state's unending war machine. As we stand at the intersection of education and conflict, this bill signals a calculated attempt to direct potential away from enlightened process and into the dark corridors of militarized labor. When the government approves policies that deliberately restrict academic achievement, it reveals a bleak intention to convert human potential into expendable manpower for a conflict that shows no signs of an ending. The stakes are raised even further when you consider that this same state is executing military operations that defy any pretense of seeking peace, while simultaneously sabotaging the educational trajectory of its citizens. So today, we peel back the layers of this policy and expose how education is being weaponized as part of a broader design that ensures the state remains locked in an endless war, regardless of the human cost. Imagine a future where the path to a complete education is littered with impossible hurdles rather than open opportunities. And that is precisely what this new draft bill sets in motion. High school advancement is no longer a given. Instead, students must now pass not one, not two, but 4 tough exams. And if you don't get enough points passing all 4 of them, your continued education is over. The only thing left for you are manual labor careers, and I'm not saying that these are unappreciated careers. After all, even in Russia, a skilled plumber can make as much as finance manager. But just in general, the idea that your opportunities are slashed in half by the state just because your grades are suboptimal, and that's it. It's official. You cannot do anything about it. Well, this idea is just crazy ridiculous. When other countries of the world are trying to make the education affordable for everyone, the regime of Putin makes it complicated for the future generation to become meaningful contributors. Makes total sense. In the stark contrast, those aiming for labor training need only navigate the familiar territory of Russian language and math. Just these 2 exams. The state is not trying to improve academic excellence, but rather, it is orchestrating a deliberate diversion. By complicating the academic route, the regime weakens the societal pillar that has historically promoted critical thinking and upward mobility. This policy, hidden in the disguise of reform, is a clear message. Intellectual advancement is a luxury the state can no longer afford. And the path to higher education is now an inconvenient detour rather than an open door. The authorities even called it, I'm just quoting here, an experiment to expand secondary vocational education. The motivations behind such repressive measures go far beyond the realm of academics. With each additional exam imposed, more young minds are funneled towards employment opportunities where you don't have to work much with your brain. Therefore, you're more likely to not be interested in politics, economics, business, and other complicated things. Simply speaking, they don't want such people to ask too many questions. Just do your job and let the state handle its own problems. Because in a society where a robust education is a foundation for dissent and innovation, barricading this foundation works to the regime's advantage. It is relatively obvious, right? The bill effectively limits opportunities for the youth, curbing their ability to challenge or even question the status quo. It's not about educational uplift. It is about controlling the destiny of the entire next generation. And in a nation already scarred by the strains of relentless conflict, this systematic undermining of education lays the groundwork for a future where intellectual growth is overshadowed by military experience. Does not sound like a good plan, right? Well, because it isn't. And soon, guys, you will see exactly why. While the draft bill seeks to carve out a predetermined future by limiting academic opportunities, the broader canvas reveals a dual strategy where war and policy intertwine in a particularly insidious dance. Recent acts of state violence, such as the calculated strike on a distant Ukrainian city, Kryvyi Rog, that claimed the lives of innocents, including children, betray a government that is as eager to secure conflict as it is to undermine its own people's prospects. Ceasefire rhetoric now echoes in the background as high-stakes negotiations serve more as a diversion than a genuine overture to peace. And even, guys, you just think about it. A couple months ago, more than half of world's news were about the potential ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. And now, we get absolutely almost nothing, similar to last year and the year before. There was an assumption that if Trump would not be able to achieve quick peace, at least temporarily, he will just quietly give up, switch his attention to something else, and unfortunately, well, it looks like this is exactly what is happening right now. But back to this new law on education in Russia. Instead of nurturing a society capable of critical discourse and peaceful rebellion, the government is redoubling its commitment to a strategy of perpetual conflict. It emphasizes the idea that the state has no sincere interest in ending this war anytime soon, even as it manipulates educational policies to further entrench its control over the populace. The law was adopted recently, less than a month ago in fact, so it will take approximately 15 years for the youngest school kids right now to face the consequences. 2040 approximately is the year when the next generation of young Russians will be completely different from what they are right now. The state's double focus on militarized might and educational suppression is not merely coincidental. It is a calculated confluence designed to produce an obedient reserve of manpower. With minds conditioned to accept vocational pathways and bodies primed for the battlefield, the state fashions a double-edged sword that slices through both the future of individual potential and the immediate prospects of a society craving peace. The nonsense idea of promoting short-term recruitment incentives while dismantling the long-term prospects of its young citizens paints a picture of a regime that values the maintenance of a war apparatus over the cultivation of human capital, ensuring that the nation remains locked in a cycle of violence and submission. Behind every policy decision lies the relentless engine that fuels a never-ending war, which is the manpower. And in today's grim reality, the state is resorting to astronomical financial incentives to secure an ever-flowing stream of recruits. Initially, the strategy of offering generous signing bonuses might have sounded like a simple but genius idea, a way to outbid the poverty that affects huge chunks of the population, turning economic desperation into a ticket to the battlefield. However, as the campaign wages on, the price tag attached to each new recruit has ballooned to levels that defy reason. What began as a modest compensation has transformed into an exorbitant bidding war, where millions of rubles are thrown at the altar of recruitment. It was nearly $50,000 at some point in a country where average annual salary is under $10,000. Basically means sign a piece of paper and 5 years of your work are instantly rewarded. The economic cost is not just financial, it resonates deeply through the social fabric. As well-qualified individuals are siphoned away, entire sectors of the national workforce begin to crumble. Once vibrant industries now resemble ghost towns, where skilled labor has evaporated in favor of quick, dangerous cash grabs. This unsustainable model hinges on a fatal irony. The state must continuously raise the stakes, proposing ever higher sums to lure recruits who are already devaluing the notion of their own lives. Yet, these inflated offers come at a steep price, obviously. Each additional incentive not only drains the state's budget, but also further diminishes the quality and reliability of those who step forward. These are not elite and dedicated soldiers, no way. These are bus drivers, security guards, and cashiers, driven by pure economic desperation. The recruitment drive becomes a heartless market where the value of human life is measured in rubles, and every monetary raise is a stark reminder of the unsustainable model underpinning the nation's war machine. This gamble on human resources, so strikingly short-sighted and ultimately self-defeating, reveals the black hole of a problem at the heart of the state's strategy, which is to wage an endless conflict. They must sacrifice not only the future of the entire generation, but also the long-term health of their own nation's economy. The seeds of endless warfare have been sown deep within policies that extend well beyond the battlefield. As the state tightens its grip on every aspect of society, new measures emerge that signal a long-term vision for conscription, a blueprint for keeping the war machine operational for years, if not decades. Stricter conscription criteria and an unyielding surveillance system are no longer just administrative footnotes. They are the pillars upon which this dystopian vision rests. By narrowing the window of eligibility to a narrow 18 to 30-year-old age group and eliminating any possibility of deferring service, the state ensures that everyone eventually finds themselves cornered into participation.
On Tuesday, the State Duma voted to raise the upper age limit to 30.
Dodging conscription has become a nearly impossible trick. Once you're hooked, you either go to Ukraine or you go to jail. No other option. The government is meticulously testing every loophole that once allowed even the most resourceful individuals to avoid their obligations. And if the authorities cannot find a way around it, they just change the law itself. Because why shouldn't they? That's what they think, right? Gone are the days when a simple doctor's note or a conveniently timed diagnosis could grant a relief from military duty. Instead, the state's new decree leaves no space for negotiation, ruthlessly streamlining recruitment processes until every potential dissent is ruled out. Alongside this, an aggressive campaign to reconfigure societal norms is already underway. That's the new education law we talked about in the beginning of this video. By subtly shifting the focus away from traditional academic achievements and instead promoting vocational training as the default pathway, the regime is conditioning the youth to see service as the only viable route to financial survival and in some cases financial freedom. The long-term plan is as chilling as it is clear, which is raise a new generation of people who will not ask questions, obediently follow orders, and be living in not the best financial conditions, so the military career for them will seem like a pretty decent option. This is not merely a short-term solution to a dwindling pool of recruits, it is a calculated systemic re-engineering of society. In this blueprint, every policy, every raised bonus, and every draconian measure is a stepping stone towards a dark future, with unfortunately, if Russians don't do anything, unfortunately with no escape. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below, for example, Patreon, where you can see additional chapters of ridiculous Russian propaganda. Once again, the link is down below. This is one of the best ways to support my work. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.